this is Hormolda Census as always. I'm sure you're all well aware of the recent news about protests breaking out in China. I've brought you some of the latest updates. As protests in China intensified, Chinese police cracked down ruthlessly, and it appears the protesters have essentially failed to achieve their goals. Today, we'll closely examine these protests. Let's begin. On August 4, 2025, an unprecedented protest erupted in Zhangyu City, Sichuan Province. The protesters stood with the victims' families, condemning the lenient punishment given to the perpetrators. Thousands rallied at City Hall, shouting, "Where is justice?" and "Please protect our children." But the crackdown by the public security forces that followed was beyond imagination. The public security forces swung their shields violently, striking the protesters indiscriminately, and sprayed pepper spray directly into their faces, making it impossible for them to open their eyes. Moreover, they ruthlessly beat protesters with batons, knocking them down. One scene was particularly disturbing. Protesters were transported not in police buses, but in livestock trucks. People were crying and shouting as they stuck their faces out through the wire mesh, and someone inside the truck wailed, asking what they had done wrong. This shocking scene was captured on video at the site and quickly spread through social media, allowing many Chinese citizens to witness it. The video sparked widespread outrage, leading to a flood of angry comments and massive protests as countless citizens took to the streets. In China, authorities blocked social media accounts and censored real-time search terms in an attempt to prevent the spread of these protests. Late into the night, protests persisted, with crowds packing the area in front of Zhangyu City Hall and nearby streets. The exact number is unknown, but based on videos from the scene, the crowd seems to be in the thousands or possibly tens of thousands. The fervor was showing signs of expanding beyond simple anger into resentment against the system itself. The protesters voiced the families' grievances, demanding an investigation and harsh punishment. Their cries turned to anger at the system. As Chinese police attempted to break up the protests, demonstrators challenged them by displaying quotes from Mao Zedong, the Chinese Communist Party's figurehead. The quotation "Serve the people" was not merely a catchphrase, but a message of resistance against the police and the system. However, the protests reached a shocking turning point. At first, it started with anger over school violence, but as dissatisfaction with Xi Jinping's authoritarian rule and human rights oppression exploded, political slogans like "Down with Xi Jinping," "End the dictatorship," and "Give us back democracy" began to pour out at the scene. Surprisingly, these political statements came from ordinary citizens in mainland China's heartland. Citizens emerged carrying banners advocating for democracy and signs demanding freedom. The Chinese government likely fears these types of slogans the most, which may explain their reaction. As the number of protesters increased, Zhangyu City's public security struggled to maintain control. Consequently, Chinese public security dispatched numerous police from nearby cities to Zhangyu City to suppress the protest. Large-scale barricades were set up and roads were blocked. The riot police surrounded the protesters in full gear. Police dogs were deployed, and authorities were filmed identifying protest leaders. The assault of a 14-year-old girl evolved into a protest against Xi Jinping's regime. From the Chinese Communist Party's view, this is an unacceptable and significant incident that may lead to political division in China. China has long suppressed press, expression, and assembly freedoms. In such a country, thousands of people are now boldly taking to the streets, calling for democracy and demanding a change of government. However, the Chinese government was determined to prevent the protests from escalating into a nationwide movement. Authorities initiated a severe crackdown to prevent the Dangyil City protests from spreading. The situation then changed quickly. Hundreds of riot police in black uniforms seized control of main intersections in the city center. They pushed back protesters with shields while spraying tear gas to blur their vision and create confusion. Forces fired phasers to forcibly suppress protesters, resembling a battlefield. Security officers seized phones or stopped citizens from recording when they attempted to film. Witnesses reported that public security officers stepped on phones dropped by some citizens. Witnesses at the scene also testified to a violent, bloody clash. A protester reported seeing a person bleeding from a head injury after being struck by a public security officer's baton. Online, the situation also began to be rapidly blocked. On major social media platforms like Weibo, WeChat, and Douyin, related search terms were censored and deleted, making relevant keywords unsearchable. Videos, photos, and accounts from the protests were rapidly deleted nearly as fast as they were posted, almost in real time. Some posts disappeared in less than a minute, and the people who uploaded them soon had their accounts suspended or restricted. Chinese media outlets stayed totally silent. No coverage of the incident was released by public broadcasters, Xinhua News Agency, or state-run newspapers. It's as if they made it so that such an incident never even existed. Due to this thorough information blockade, it seems that the protest is being contained and concluded only within the Zhangyu City area. They have completely blocked any possibility of it spreading on a national scale. This footage shows the streets of Zhangyu City after the protest was fully cleared on August 6th. As you can see, the streets are quiet, just like any other day. On the surface, it looks like an ordinary city where nothing happened. All roads to Zhangyu City Hall are blocked by Chinese police barricades and checkpoints, with the surrounding area off limits to citizens. Local sources report that the streets remain empty, with only police patrol cars making regular rounds. It's also reported that people who post on social media or share photos from here are being arrested. This protest will probably go down in history as a failure. The Chinese government's swift censorship, comprehensive suppression, media control, and crackdown on citizens exemplify how they suppress and control public opinion. However, no one can deny the fact that distrust and anger are still building up among Chinese citizens. The reason for this protest started with a video on July 22nd. In an abandoned building in Zhangyu City, Sichuan Province, southwestern China, a 14-year-old girl was assaulted by 3 other teenagers. The perpetrators are 13, 14, and 15 years old. The perpetrators took off the victim's clothes and continued their cruel actions, such as taking turns slapping her face and forcing her to kneel. The victim was reportedly bullied for an extended period. Local authorities have placed the 3 juvenile offenders in a correctional facility. The problem is that the level of punishment was too low. The victim suffered severe assault, but the punishment was just a slap on the wrist. Furthermore, the victim's parents are from a low-income family and have hearing impairments. The victim's parents went to City Hall, kneeling and pleading for stronger punishment. Images of this spread on social media, igniting protests. Shockingly, some media outlets have rumored that the perpetrator's parents hold high positions in the Chinese Communist Party. Although this part has not been officially confirmed, the spread of such news has led to the protests growing even larger. Later, as the rumor spread widely, the Zhangyu police stated that they investigated the parents of all 3 individuals, revealing that 2 are unemployed and 1 works at a local store. They also announced that 2 people who spread this false information were given administrative punishment. However, as the rumor of their high-ranking Communist Party status spread too far, the protests quickly became uncontrollable. This protest is considered highly unusual by many, although protests have occurred before. Even more intense protests occurred during the COVID era. This protest is unusual as it's the first large-scale demonstration in China in a long time, with a scale so significant that police from other regions had to be brought in. And it's also quite unusual that videos spread so widely through social media. As a result, some analysts are saying that dissatisfaction within China has grown too much. Right now, dissatisfaction in China is sky high. China's urban unemployment rate is about 5%, but for those aged 16 to 24, excluding students, it's around 16.1%. South Korea's youth unemployment rate is around 7.5%, which is considered serious. China's rate is about double that of South Korea. Furthermore, the 16.1% figure may result from China concealing the true numbers, as it is known for manipulating statistics. The youth unemployment rate in China is likely being manipulated. Poor working conditions are a major factor contributing to growing dissatisfaction among the Chinese population. Currently, numerous Chinese firms demand 12 to 16-hour workdays from employees, with many requiring work 6 or even 7 days per week. Due to such poor working conditions, industrial accidents keep happening. However, despite this, the gap between the rich and the poor can't be resolved. China is also trying to solve this problem, but in reality, it's almost impossible to close the gap between the rich and the poor. Currently, over 600 million Chinese people, more than half the population, live on less than 10,000 won daily. Furthermore, the lack of a social safety net has fueled growing dissatisfaction in China, which appears to have contributed to the recent protests. A saying suggests that restricted social mobility can lead to revolution, and signs of this are emerging in China. What are your thoughts on the recent protests in China? Share in the comments below. Thanks for watching.